source.
Likely contenders in the Tory leadership battle are starting to emerge, using newspaper articles and interviews to say what they think went wrong. Former Home Secretary Suella Braverman said Rishi Sunak had run an idiotic strategy and needed to take a tougher line on reducing immigration. Ex-Immigration Minister Robert Jenrick said failing to reduce numbers was our biggest and most damaging failure. And former Health Secretary Victoria Atkins said the country was still instinctively conservative, with Labour's support spread very thinly, like margarine. And the Health Secretary has announced he will meet junior doctors on Tuesday in an effort to end strike action and to discuss reform. Wes Streeting will first meet the British Dental Association tomorrow over changes to the dental contract and to kickstart 700,000 more urgent dentistry appointments. He'll then hold face-to-face talks with the British Medical Association Junior Doctors Committee on Tuesday for negotiations to end their long-running dispute over pay. Junior doctors in England have called for a 35% pay increase. And those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Tatiana Sanchez. More in an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Labour have won a landslide. England are in a semi-final of some kind of tournament, and a 12-year-old has been referred to a counter-extremist service Prevent for stating there are only two genders. This is Free Speech Nation. Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howie. This is the show where we take a look at culture, current affairs and politics, and we don't mince our words. We'll also take a look at the latest offerings of our lovable culture warriors who somehow still exist, even though they were supposedly just a figment of Tory imagination and Labour have won a landslide. Also, coming up on the show tonight, a 12-year-old has been referred to counter-extremism service Prevent because he said there are only two genders. I'm going to be joined by the writer Joe Bartosh to discuss why there isn't a political party for gender-critical women. We'll examine why sequels and reboots are destroying cinema. And, of course, myself and my fantastic panel will be answering questions from our wonderful studio audience. Please welcome my comedian guests for this evening, Bruce Devlin and Jonathan Cogan. Gentlemen, how are you?
Fine.
You enjoying the new set? Is this the first time you've been on the new set?
No.
They've refreshed it.
They've refreshed it,
Yeah.
yes. But
Yes.
you're here every week, so it's all...
I'm here every week, although it's a shame they've obviously run out of money for the headliners.
Don't say such a thing. No, we wanted it...
They've spent all the Tesco club card vouchers.
The headliners...
No more.
The headliners' viewership, they want it in a very particular
They wanted
way.
the same.
There will be developments happening along those lines.
Well, they got rid of my rider, so I'm not happy.
Yeah, I know. Look at you,
Did you
dressing
have one?
down in protest.
Well, I used to eat sushi off a wonderful Japanese man who they can't afford him anymore, so now it's just gone. Yeah, because in this climate.
Those are the good old
Thanks,
days.
Kia.
Yeah, exactly. Right, we're going to get some questions from the audience. Our first question is from Evgenia. Evgenia?
Hello.
Hello.
Is Labour a good thing for the country?
Yes. Well, Labour won a landslide this week. What do you think? Who did you vote for? Do you mind saying? You don't have to say. No pressure. Who'd you vote for?
Le Pen.
Not telling you. I'm still trying to make up my mind. That's why I'm asking the question.
It's over. I'm afraid you're going to have to wait another 5 years now to do that. Yeah, to do that. Gentlemen, what do you think? It was obviously big. That's the big news of the week, of the last 6 weeks here. Did you vote?
Yeah.
Do you mind saying?
I know, I'm allowed.
Well, I don't know how it works up north.
Well, it's queer up north, so
we
you can
know.
well imagine. No, I think the reason that you vote in a booth is because it's private, but I did vote. I did a postal. It arrived, and my vote was registered. And I think in my area I voted for the right person, and I'm kind of glad it's over, because it's been a long 6 weeks.
And yeah, now we have to do the Tory election for leadership. But yeah, it's a big deal. It's happened now. Do you think change is here?
I'm sort of cautiously pessimistic. It's like it's something I'm kind of... I'm excited for change, but I'm also kind of dreading how things could go. But at the same time, I'm just glad Ed Miliband's back, so I can do the joke and stand-up that I look like him, because that's all I need. Because people did not know who he was for the last 3 years, so yeah.
That is terrible. That is pretty much sums up the comedian mindset. It doesn't really matter. It's like anything terrible happens in the news. It's like, oh, brilliant, I can do that joke. We'll see if Ed Miliband is one of those terrible things. But yeah, it's a strange reaction out there from people. Some people are genuinely scared, I think. Some people are excited. They do think there is going to be change. It is going to be interesting to see. Do you think that Keir Starmer has laid any indication yet of the kind of government that he is going to
I don't
lead?
think Keir Starmer's laid any indication of the type of person that he is, let alone government, to be perfectly honest with you, and I have nothing against him, but I don't feel that we know much more about him than when he came into his role than we do now, all joking aside. So I think in this first 100 days, he really is going to have to do something that really defines his leadership style.
I think you're making a very good point. I think the danger, Jonathan, of him being this kind of blank slate is that everybody can kind of put whatever they want to onto that, and in a way it reveals more about them. I'm sort of a slightly optimistic person, and I'm slightly optimistically hoping that he may turn out to be actually quite good and brave.
He's a screen that we project on, essentially.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, I can respect that. What if he just, like, got rid of... I know, he came in wearing shorts, and that became his thing. He's like,
No one would ever be that.
I'm the shorts
I would
PM.
sue him. I would take him to court.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's, I guess the only thing we'd do is find out. He did have, I thought it was a relatively impressive conference in front of the press, and it seemed like he relaxed just a little bit into the role. He's obviously it feels like he spent 5 years planning to be here, to not say anything wrong that might alienate a certain part of the audience and of the potential voters. But now, in standing there, it sounded like he was actually more speaking from the heart.
Well, I think it was the case that throughout the election, it was like, nothing's a done deal, we can't be complacent, we can't do this. So he has been overly cautious, I think. So it's exactly what you say. He now has to believe that, you know, it's done, and now he does have carte blanche in which to make his mark, and I hope he does.
I thought it was quite good, sort of backhanded, passive-aggressive compliments to Rishi when he was like, you've got to give it up for Rishi. He was the first Asian Prime Minister we ever had, and all he said about him was that he was Asian. He's like completely saying he's not done anything good. But isn't it good that he was Asian?
I don't know. I thought that actually both of them spoke well of each other. But that's just me. Again,
you would at that point.
Slightly optimistic. Well, we'll see if the show is here next week. Then he's obviously got us through one more week. Our next question is from Gillian. Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Is independence for Scotland dead in the water?
Yes, so Scottish independence might be dead, for a generation. Joanna Cherry has said that voters have become disillusioned with the SNP over its failure to progress the case of Scottish independence. How do you feel, Gillian, about this?
Well, given how badly they did in the polls, I think possibly it's sleeping for a generation.
Well, we'll see. I mean, yes, I'm Bruce.
Troubled sleeper.
Trouble. Tossing and turning, yes.
And you've begun.
Yes. Well, it's 48 to 9 seats. That's a huge decline.
No, it is. I even understand basic math like that. I'm well aware. I don't think... You have to remember, I do always get really annoyed on political discussion programmes where they go, but you've got independence at the front of your manifesto. Yes, they're nationalists, so the clue's in the title. It will never go away for them. Whether it is the case that the Scottish people want it or not is a different thing. It was very interesting watching them on Thursday night. It was also very interesting that Nicola was employed as a pundit, but more of that after the interval. That it was the case that, oh, no, this was all just to get the Tories out and whatever. And it's like, well, maybe you have to examine the fact that a lot of people were like, you're not particularly being that great at what we call the day job, and that's why we also want to change. It's not necessarily just to do with the Tories. So in as much as the figures haven't really changed since 2014. That's the whole thing. It will always be important to the nationalists because that is their cause. And when they eventually... Because I do believe at one stage the country will go independent. I don't think it'll be in my lifetime. But they would then, I would imagine, have to disband because they have no political currency, because that's their driving force. But do I think that they maybe need to focus on convincing people that they're actually all right? And no. But Joanna Cherry, she's She's very upset about a lot of things,
Yes.
and she hates Nicola. I think they turned up in the same outfit, bitch stole my look, that kind of thing. So I think that there's kind of veiled agendas.
Well, she was accused of bitterness and also losing her seat. She would probably rightly argue that she was on the right side of history when it came to protecting women's rights, and it could be argued that really it all came down to the whole self-ID policy that the SNP were trying to push through. It seemed like that was the turning point, because it seemed up until then Nicola Sturgeon was very popular, and now there's obviously the potential corruption that is being investigated that I should have mentioned.
Alleged.
Don't mention.
Are we allowed to mention it?
No.
Oh, well, it's on allegedly.
That's why I didn't mention it.
I just like to say I respect Bruce's point, but I disagree.
What?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Which is fair enough. Andrew Neil said something very funny, that at least the 9 people still with their seats will fit in the camper van.
That is... You know what? If we can't...
It's the little things, isn't it?
It's good. The good thing is we may not be able to come up with our own jokes, but we're very good at quoting other people.
Absolutely.
Now, the difference between... Actually, I'm not doing that Chris Rock bit. No way.
Oh, no, yeah.
Yeah.
But it will be interesting to see, and I wonder if, Bruce, sort of following on quickly from what you were saying, there's an element of be careful what you wish for, because I think maybe the Scottish people saw what it would be like to have... Well, they had years of the SNP leadership, and as you say, they didn't deliver on the things that were important to people, which were the services...
And roads and things like that. And again, but for people that are diehard nationalists and people that really want independence, the figures have not changed. And I think a lot of people feel that the SNP are no longer the driving force of moving independence. I think they would look to go and vote for someone like Alex Salmond, and I don't know if it's pronounced Alba or Alapa or whatever, but they seem to be...
Elma!
They seem to be more serious about it in some people's eyes.
Well, we'll see.
I'd like to say I've changed my mind, and I agree with Bruce now. So.
Very good. That's what the show's all about. Our next question is from Phil.
So, France are going back to the polls for round 2. Can the far right win?
Yes, so thank you, Phil. It's lovely to have a resident Frenchman here to ask that question. So can the...
Sacré bleu.
Indeed. I've never heard that done in an Australian accent before.
Kiwi.
Kiwi,
Oh, wow.
No, get it right.
racism.
Security coming from the front. OK, so can the far right win in France? Far right national rally of Marine Le Pen poised to become the dominant force in the country's National Assembly. After a rest day with no political activity allowed, voting got underway across mainland France at 8 a.m. local time this Sunday, with pollsters due to publish usually reliable seat projections as the last big city polling stations close at 8 p.m. Yes, so Phil, what do you reckon? You've been following it closely?
Je ne sais quoi.
Je ne sais quoi. Je ne regrette rien.
Je ne regrette rien.
Ménage à toi. So...
I don't understand the Kiwi slang.
No. That's not what you said. Anyway, Bruce, what do you reckon? You've been following this a little bit, haven't we, in headliners?
Yeah, and I would say oui. I don't need one, but yes, I think that is the most probable outcome for this election.
You think, yeah, they're going to get in?
Yeah, definitely, of course.
I don't think it's going to be projected to be
wow,
as big. Well, I mean, no,
it was like having a builder doing a quote for work in the house.
He's not saying that he wants them to get in. He's just saying that he thinks that they probably will get in.
I mean, you were able to say my country's dead. Let's move on.
I'm not so sure about that, because I believe the far left and the centrists have kind of joined, which is what they do, which arguably could be why Macron called the election, because he knew that this would force the hand, and I think about 150 people have dropped out of their seats. But say that they do get in, what will the change be in France, do you think, and what will be the change across Europe?
I think there won't be much of a cultural shift. I think the focus will be on immigration, as obviously that's a very big issue in France, which I think will also have trickle-down effects for the UK. But at the same time, I did enjoy the protests that happened immediately after Le Pen did so well in the first round. You had a bunch of, and this literally happened, you can see it on YouTube, I've watched it several times, a bunch of topless feminists sweeping the floor saying this is what will happen under Le Pen. And I'm like, oh, no, it'd be terrible. But yeah, that's what happened, basically, yeah.
Why? Are they part of a curling team?
Yeah, I think so. The curling, top half, completely bare, curling
actually,
Olympics. Foxy boxing.
You're not going to believe this, but this is a news channel.
They're in now.
And we have some news, and
okay.
actually they have suffered what seems to be a major defeat, as the left-wing coalition that I was just talking about is projected to have come first in the parliamentary election. And then this is according to exit polls, but as we said, they are usually quite accurate. So it seems like possibly Macron's plan has paid off. The other thing that...
Is this just improv or is this real?
No, I
doing a
don't
bit?
improv. I'm just... This is a lot, mate. This is news. This is happening right now, baby.
Oh, yes, and?
Yeah, no, there's no and.
Oh.
And people won't get the and reference, so they won't get the improv thing. But, or maybe you do, and? No. But, Bruce, do you think that this was Macron's plan? Because some people were saying that he actually wanted the far right to get in, or we use that term far right, but he wanted the opposition to get in because they would run the country. Maybe he looked at the SNP, saw how terrible they were doing and go, well, let them into power for a bit. They'll see that they're actually not very good at the job. And then when it came time for his presidential election, he would be re-voted in.
I'm not necessarily sure he knows who Le SNP are, to be perfectly honest with you. No. So I'm not... No, I think he's just been defeated.
No, well, in this case, he's got through.
I reckon he's playing the long game.
Well, that's what politicians do. Right. Our final question for the moment is from Anton. Hello, Anton.
Do you think we can get fall back in love with James Corden?
Can we fall back in love with James Corden? Are you in love with James Corden? Were you ever in love with James Corden?
Met him once.
You met him?
Where?
Do tell.
Was that a passionate evening?
Not quite. It was in Covent Garden.
OK. Was he nice to you?
He was nice then.
It was nice. And did he make you hold his baby? That's a famous story, if anybody knows that.
That's not a euphemism.
Oh, thank you. It is when I do it. Thank you, Anton. So, yeah, this is about James Corden. He delayed the start of a play in which he stars in the London Theatre. The cast and the audience could watch England's penalty shootout at the Euros game against Switzerland on Saturday. You a football fan?
I watched the Pens.
You watched the Pens.
Yeah.
Do you agree with this? I mean, some people would argue that this was actually very thoughtful, and some people who don't care about football would say this is very selfish.
If he wanted to be really nice to the audience, he should have just cancelled the whole play. I think that would have just been sort of the
So you're not in the camp. You're not a Corden fan.
He's fine. I did an advert with him once. That was fun. Yeah, and he's very nice.
Yeah. No, I met him before, and he was very nice to me, and it was a wonderful menage a trois. What about you, Bruce? What do you think? Is stopping the play or not? To watch football?
I think he probably did that. He doesn't have a great... I don't understand why he bothers so many people. You know, he's written many things. I object to him calling himself a comedian because I don't think he's ever done a gig.
He does do stuff. I used to gig with him and stuff. He does do a gig. I mean, it was all a bit 101, but he's got massive laughs and stuff.
So I was right. And moving on, I just think, from what I hear about offstage, he's kind of insufferable. There was something at Pinewood. He does a show for Sky, going on, all the crew and all this kind of stuff, and someone who shall remain nameless said, name 3 of the crew. And he went, no, I'm not playing that game. And they went, because you can't. And he was a bit difficult and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. I feel sorry for him because he does seem to get slagged off quite a lot. He needs to stop singing. He ruined Kylie's Christmas album with a duet, and that's why
Well, he should come work here, because the best thing about GBNews is that it's all automated, so you don't need to learn the crew name. Right, next on Free Speech Nation, I'll be joined by former police officer and free speech campaigner Harry Miller to discuss the insane case of a gay 12-year-old boy who's been referred to the Counter-Terrorism Service, Prevent, for stating there are only 2 genders. See you in 2.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Welcome back. Stefan Kyriazis has, as ever, been to the theatre and saw one of the most successful performers of the modern age, one who has made his name in different genres on television and is always a magnetic presence on the stage. About whom are we talking, Stefan?
We're talking about James Corden at the Old Vic for The Constituent, and it's Traverse staging. So audience on either side, and it's a fantastic experience. But also it's been done this time to bring everything in a lot and make it quite intimate, because you just have one simple set. It's just a table, office space. This is a new play by Joe Penhall, and it's addressing very, very current issues of safety, especially for people in public service. Doctors, nurses, teachers, and, of course, as you know, politicians that are at risk and being attacked. So we have Joe Cox, Sir David Ames, and we have politicians talking about cancelling their surgeries, not wanting to appear in public, teachers being threatened. And James Corden plays an ex-serviceman who is going through a difficult divorce, dealing with a lot of PTSD, also feeling very much like fathers are overlooked, and he wants to fight for their rights. And an old school friend is a local MP, played by Anna Maxwell Martin. And he goes in to start talking to her, and it starts off quite chummy and jovial, and then it darkens and darkens. He gets quite aggressive and frustrated. She wants to help. She's an absolute idealist. This politician sense of we don't choose who we work for. You know, we are here by duty to work for everybody in our constituency. It spirals a lot. I have to say, Corden, sensational. Really? He really is a fantastic actor. Of all of them, he's so natural, and he has the most difficult role where his character is shifting all the time and becomes potentially quite threatening and dangerous, but then there's also a beautiful catharsis at the end.
The People's Channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect, and then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry. Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation. Now, a 12-year-old schoolboy has reportedly been referred to the counter-extremism programme PREVENT after he said there are only 2 genders. After posting a video online stating there's no such thing as non-binary, the boy's school told his mother that he was at risk of radicalisation by the far right. The mother told the Daily Mail that PREVENT also raised concerns over her son's response to if any groups shouldn't exist. The boy, who's Jewish, said that Hamas should be wiped out. With me now is the founder of Fair Cop, Harry Miller.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having us.
Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's have a little round of applause. I think everyone was a little bit too shocked by that story. To tell us more, how did you get involved with it?
I got involved a few weeks ago now. The parent rang me up and said, "You're not going to believe this, Harry, but the school threatens to report my 12-year-old boy to the anti-terrorist unit because he'd come out and said that he was gay, not queer." I thought this was utterly ridiculous. So I thought, I know what I'll do. I will see off the school. I will write them a letter from Fair Cop and tell them that I will have their asses, in the non-sexual sense, if they don't back off.
In the gay, not queer sense.
Yeah, in the gay, not queer sense, yeah. I'll have their asses in the gay, not queer sense unless they back off from this kid. And that was it. I thought no more about it. Until 2 weeks ago when I got another phone call to tell me that PREVENT, the counter-terrorist unit, were going to be pitching up at their house on a Tuesday afternoon. So I did what I do best. I staged an ambush and I was there waiting for them.
And how did they respond? Do they know you? Are they familiar with your work?
Well, the very first thing they said when they knocked on the door was, "Is Harry Miller from Fair Cop here?" And of course, they arrived early just to sort of, make sure that I wasn't there. So they did an interview without me. I got there on time at 2:30. And when I got there, I said, "Look, sorry I'm late. I think you were early. But could you please give me a recap?" And what they said was, "No, we're not wasting your time or the parents' time. We've already explained the terrorism problem with the parents, and we're not going to repeat it." And she said, "But I didn't understand a word you said." And they said, "Well, we're not going to say it again. We're leaving. That's the end of the conversation." And off they went. I followed them out into the garden and said, word for word, "If you ever approach this family again, I will arrest the pair of you." And they said, "What?" I said, "You heard. I will arrest you again because what you are doing, you are the terrorists. You are criminally harassing this family." He has said something which is not even in the foothills of criminality. And if you come here again, I will grab you both by the scruff of the neck and I will drag you down to the nearest police station and we'll have it out there. Because we do not have a Stasi, a Checker or a Gestapo in this country. And we don't have a Home Office or a police force that sends out the big guns because a 12-year-old boy has said, "I'm gay, not queer." It's entirely wrong. Now, to be fair, there was another aspect to this story. This little boy had also posted on his TikTok channel, which has got about 10 subscribers, a little video of himself with a weapon. This is what Prevent said. He was dabbling in weaponry, far right weaponry. Now, the weapon that he was talking about,
there it is. You can see it on the screen.
It was a toy crossbow bought from English Heritage. You can get them from Amazon. Now, I can tell you this. I watched the video, and it's sad. I'm not a young man. My prostate is not what it was. But I can tell you now that I can pee further than that little boy shot that arrow. That is the fact of the matter. It was a foam arrow, a child's toy, but Prevent and Northumbria Police and the lunatic Chief Constable Vanessa Jardine, who is so pro-LGBTQI. She's like a little. She's got her own little militant group in Northumbria. They said that because this boy did not embrace LGBTQI nonsense, because this boy had said that he wanted to see Hamas wiped out, and because this boy had been playing with a little bow and arrow, this was terrorism.
I mean, it's so insane. There's there's a lot going on here. First of all, as you said, the boy is Jewish. From what I understand, he was being bullied at school and receiving insults, including people doing Nazi salutes. Now,
it gets worse than that. It gets worse than the parents told Prevent and the chief and the police constable detective that was there. So look, my boy's been there, and when he got out of the shower, they asked him, "Is this what it was like at Auschwitz?" Saying that to a Jewish boy, and they said, "Well, that's not very nice, but that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about your son's radicalisation and your boy's flirtation with weaponry."
So they haven't actually investigated this or taken it any further. No. This, what would arguably be hate crimes.
No, this is the same force, of course, that investigated Lindsay Smith, who is a Newcastle United lesbian, for saying that she was LGB, not LGBT. Again, Faircop were involved in that. We did a sting on that one and got the entire thing recorded, and we'll be taking the Chief Constable to the High Court, because we do not have, we must not allow, we cannot allow a politicised police force in this country. I always think of Her late Majesty the Queen. Did we have a clue what she thought about anything politically? The answer is a great big no. She was nice to everybody, polite to everybody, smiled at everybody, but we have no idea what her views on anything were. That's what we need from chief constables. That's what we need from the police. We need them to be politically vanilla. We need them to serve without fear and without favour. And we don't need to know what their politics are, because they shouldn't have any.
Well, true, but I mean, surely the issue is here. Now, Prevent would probably say that they have a duty of care. They have to follow these things through. This was recommended by the school. Yeah. So if the school is now then calling up Prevent, don't they have to investigate?
No, of course they don't have to investigate. No, of course they don't. We've got our authorities, the Home Office, the police. They have a duty, first and foremost, to weigh up the evidence. These are not gangsters, thugs for hire. You can't simply ring up the police and say meh, 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 and then expect them to go out and act on your complaint. You can't do that. The police are supposed to have a look at the evidence and go, right, OK, was this little boy making bombs during his science lesson? No. Well, what was he doing? Oh, well, he said he was gay, not queer. Like, so what? What was he doing? What was he doing? Well, he's been seen firing a little bow and arrow with the phone-tipped ends. Well, that's not terrorism, is it? That's not a police matter. That's not even a head teacher matter.
Well, to say, yes, no, absolutely. I mean, it's insane to say that Hamas should be wiped out. They are a prescribed terrorist, fundamentalist organisation, rapists, murderers. There's absolutely nothing wrong with saying that they should be wiped out.
Nothing wrong at all.
It's not in any way near illegal. And the fact that he's Jewish and has been receiving anti-Semitism himself. And the other thing, as you say, he said that non-binary isn't real. That's a protected belief that you're allowed to say that, of course.
Absolutely.
And also that, in fact, he says he's gay and not queer. I believe I read somewhere that 95% of LGBT people think that queer is an insult. This is how it started, even though it's been reappropriated by gender ideology, but it's an offensive word to many people.
It is. But forget all of that. Forget all of that. This is a 12-year-old boy. Now, the fault initially lays with the school because we have basically political commissars in the school who are reporting children for wrongthing. So it starts there. It then moves on to the police. The police have got political commissars running them, and it moves on to the Home Office because it seems that they have also got political commissars running the Home Office. You cannot send the anti-terrorist squad and a detective constable to a person's home because they've said this, because a 12-year-old has played with a child's toy and said something which 99% of the population agree with. Well, you cannot do that. You simply can't.
You're saying they cannot do it. The problem is, of course, they have done it.
Yeah.
So what is the next step? First of all, what's the next step in this particular case? And how is the 12-year-old boy? And secondly, what can be done to stop this?
Well, what we're going to do, we are going to take the Chief Constable of Northumbria, Vanessa Jardine, to the High Court. I've done it before. I won a massive case in 2020 against Chief Constable of Humberside and the entire College of Policing, and we will do it again. I am not afraid of Chief Constables. I am not afraid of the police. I'm not afraid of the Home Office. And when they behave like criminals, I will treat them like criminals and I will drag them through the courts. That's what I'm going to do. That's why Fair Cop exists. And every Chief Constable in the country who is political needs to be very, very afraid of Harry Miller and Fair Cop because we are coming for them.
And how is the 12-year-old boy? What's the follow-up been?
He's absolutely distraught. Of course he's distraught. What 12-year-old would not be distraught when the anti-terrorist unit come round? The parents are absolutely distraught. This child has got to now go back into the school where there are staff members who are supposed to be safeguarding him have reported him to the anti-terrorist unit. This is deeply homophobic. It's deeply criminal. It's absolutely scary as hell, and we need to resist it. We have to resist it. Now, the new Home Secretary needs to get a grip of this. Yvette Cooper needs to get a grip. I don't care. She's allowed to be a politician. She's allowed to be political, but she has to drive out all forms of politics from policing, all forms of politics from the judiciary, all forms of politics out of the Home Office, which is supposed to serve all of us without fear and favour. It's no good, these people saying we're on the right side of history when they're on the wrong side of the law, because that's what's happening. That's what's happening.
Fair enough. Well, look, if the 12-year-old boy or his family are watching, I just want to say people are with you, and I want to say that there is no such thing as non-binary, and Hamas absolutely should be eradicated. And you're a very brave young man, and I hope that you come out of this well and strong, and you're obviously very sensible and good parents. Harry, thank you so much for coming in and talking about this story to us.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Next on Free Speech Nation, we're going to get some more insightful questions from our beautiful audience. Just suck it up there. See you in 2 seconds. Bye.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
GB News brings you accurate reporting of the day's topical agenda.
When the news breaks, wherever and whenever it's happening,
we'll be there.
This is GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled.
Lovely.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howie. Later on in the show, I'm going to be turning agony uncle with the help of my panel, Bruce and Jonathan, to help you deal with your unfiltered dilemmas. Message us at gbnews.com/your say, and we will help you deal with your many, many issues. So let's carry on with the show. Right now, we're going to get into some more questions from our audience. Our first question is from Ryan. There he is. Hey, mate.
Hi, evening all.
Hello.
Very important question now. Is Dolly Parton a white saviour?
Indeed. Is Dolly Parton a white saviour? Dolly Parton has been accused of white saviorism for giving millions of free books to poor children. But according to a recently published academic paper, the award-winning scheme is racist by reinforcing notions of white privilege and heteronormativity and not representing enough cultural diversity, disability, trans, blah, 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 non-traditional family structures, whatever. The academic paper by speech and language pathologist Jennifer Stone, published by the University of North Carolina, asserts that Dolly Parton's philanthropy is potentially dangerous and smacks of white saviorism. I can't even... How does she even write all that stuff there?
Someone get her a boyfriend.
I mean, sure... yeah. I mean, yeah, this sounds surely... What do you think? This is a lot of tosh, right?
I just think she's fabulous, and this is just trying to find problems where there are none.
With Dolly Parton, yes. Yeah. So, I mean, it's amazing, though, Bruce, that what are academics doing? What are they doing? People are paying for these degrees?
Making stuff up. That's the problem.
Obviously so, yeah.
They're certainly not working 9 till 5. I'll see my...
Oh, wow!
Hello!
Oh, you've gone up in my estimation, lady. Bravo.
Thank you.
There we go.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And now I think put on the fake breasts.
Sorry?
Put on your fake breasts like you did before.
Yeah. After show.
It's the Christmas party all over again. But no, I think you have to remember that Dolly came from a dirt poor background and is in a position in which to help other people.
Her dad was literate, I believe.
I've no idea. I'm dyslexic,
no,
so that
you've got to assume.
No, that's what. Yeah, that's why she started this charity.
Okay, but that's the whole thing. But like, even if he wasn't and she did that, what is the problem? And dare I say, because I'm bringing up COVID, whether your stance on that, you know, she gave her own money for research and all that kind of thing. And if she wants to do that, she's fine. We should be delighted that someone like Dolly Parton is still in our lives and doing what she's doing, both professionally and personally.
Yeah, I mean, to criticise someone who's trying to help children be literate, I mean, this is insanity.
It's completely laughable. It's just, what is it? It's just basically saying... there's no good deed you can do that's good enough where you won't get criticised for it. So, yeah...
So what's the point of trying?
Yeah, which is...
I would actually argue, Bruce, that it's worse than that. I would say by arguing that charity is somehow associated with whiteness, it seems to suggest that non-charity is associated with non-whiteness. I mean, if you're making these kind of ridiculous logical arguments...
The only person that I think Dolly is sabotaging is herself, because some of the wigs are really cheap.
OK.
Again, this is her choice.
Bruce, do not talk to me about wigs. OK, our next question is from John. Hey, John.
Should BBC hosts call for Donald Trump to be murdered?
No.
Yeah, well, OK. Should BBC hosts call for Donald Trump to be murdered? David Aronovich, who presents Radio 4's Briefing Room show, took to X/Twitter and wrote, "If I was Biden, I'd hurry it up and have Trump murdered on the basis that he is a threat to America's security." Now, what do you think about this?
Well, I've never knowingly murdered anyone.
You know what terrifies me is the way that you said, John, knowingly. Yes.
And you look the kind that it could have happened accidentally. I've seen you with a bowl of crisps.
Yeah, well, Donald Trump is about a couple of months younger than me, so he's probably not got that much longer.
You're always making it about you. John, stop, you're bringing down the audience here.
So you're saying you're doing him a favour by killing him? What's your... I don't know.
It's always about you, John. So what do you think here, Jonathan?
What do I...
This is... did you see the tweet?
I did see the tweet, and I saw it got deleted about 90 minutes later. I do think it was a joke. I think it was
I think it was a joke. I don't think it was satire like he was trying to say it was. It technically wasn't satire. No. Here we have it here.
It's saying something ridiculous.
But it's a joke. Well, it is saying something ridiculous,
but we do that the whole time. I don't mean anything.
Except he's not a comic. I mean, context is important here. Yeah. There is a point that he is trying to make, Bruce, that...
He doesn't like him.
Well, he doesn't like him, but no, according to what the judges have ruled now, is that anything that a president does in an official capacity, which could argue to be anything when they're in power, is now legal by default. And that is a problem in many ways, because, first of all, in how it applies to Trump's behaviour when he was president, but also for any future presidents and what they'll then be able to get away with. Like Nixon would then be able to argue that Watergate was an official part of his official capacity. So there is an issue here, a serious issue about that ruling, right?
Yeah. When is Trump going to prison?
Well...
Do we know?
Well, there's an argument now that this ruling might help him get out of that. I do want to just go back to David Aronovich's tweets. I don't have an issue necessarily with the original tweet. What I do have an issue with is there are two things. Number one is he wrote a tweet afterwards saying that anybody criticising him was far right, which is this sort of default of the left or the far left to do that. And that for me was massively hypocritical, because the far left certainly constantly will act in bad faith and take anything out of context if they think it's going to bring a one-upmanship on a person who they don't agree with politically. So that wound me up. And I would also argue that, and this is other people argue, that obviously he works at the BBC and the idea is you're meant to be impartial. That joke, bad as it may be, would suggest he's not impartial in his feelings towards Trump.
Yeah, I don't think he wants Biden to kill him. I think he's expressing a very obvious favouritism towards Biden, which is... I mean, I guess if you're not allowed to do that as a BBC guy, then I don't know. I've never been to Ofcom training here. I really don't know what you are meant to do.
OK, well, it's different for us. But the point is, we don't necessarily hold ourselves up to any standards as the most pure people in the whole world, which the BBC tend to do.
OK.
I will say I've had some online spatters with David Aronovich. OK. A lot about gender stuff. I will also say that his book, Voodoo Histories, is excellent. I would highly recommend it to anybody. Right, next on Free Speech Nation, I'll be talking to the author and journalist Joe Partosh about how gender-critical feminists are politically homeless. See you there.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it?
Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Nana Queer, weekends from 3 p.m.
Criminal barrister Tony Wyatt. Tony, thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Right, so talk to me. What have you been up to since we last spoke?
More writing and pulling my hair out. The state of our courts.
I want to get your view on a few things, and seeing as you're a barrister. Rishi Sunak's come up with his Rwanda plan, everyone sort of poo-pooing that. And Keir Starmer's come out with his border command. Is it something that may, well, stop traffickers from trafficking people across the channel?
The border command is essentially just another police force, isn't it, to just be dealing with immigration. I fail to see how it's new. I'm not entirely sure how it's new. We have that already. We have a border force. We live in a world where if you say there is a problem with this level of illegal immigration, you're immediately branded right-wing. I'm not right-wing. I'm nothing of the sort. But I can recognise a problem when I see it. That's a problem. That's too many people coming here illegally, undocumented, lost into a system. That's not a good thing. That can't possibly be a good thing. If Keir Starmer is going to throw a lot more people at it, then yeah, that's a good thing. But it's hardly an innovation, is it? Immigration courts in this country have been absolutely crucified. They've been savagely cut. Where you may have dealt with 100 cases in a week before, you're now dealing with 10 because you don't have the judges, you don't have the barristers, you don't have the solicitors.
Same.
I mean, it's if you decimate the system by which these applications are processed, well, then you're going to create a circumstance in which the applications build up and build up and build up.
That's why we have a backlog.
Exactly. At the moment, the CPS estimates that we have about 75,000 cases in the Crown Court. The government would say 70, the CPS would say about 75. I'd say they'd know better, given they're prosecuting them all. They would say about 75,000 in the Crown Court, the backlog. That's up from 39,000 in 2020. Now, that's just the Crown Court. If the same thing is happening in the immigration courts, how are we ever recovering from that?
GB News, the People's Channel.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry, Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation. Now, throughout the general election campaign, the position of women was at the forefront of the conversation, or certainly in the last week or so when J.K. Rowling got involved. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer was consistently criticised for his party's flip-flopping stance on women-only spaces and defining what a woman is. Labour MP Jess Phillips spoke of the intimidation female candidates faced during the campaign after she was elected, but many feminists have argued that none of the mainstream political parties offered a strong enough candidate for female voters at the ballot box. Now, joining me is the assistant editor of The Critic, Jo Bartosz. So I read your piece in The Critic. Did you vote in the end?
I'm afraid to say I spoiled. I just didn't feel like I had any choice. I didn't feel like there was anyone to represent me. And, yeah, when it came to the candidates that I was offered, there was only one who recognised, you know, what a woman is and was prepared to say it. And I'm afraid to say, whilst he might recognise what a woman was, I wasn't confident he actually respected our rights. So I felt like I had no choice.
Yeah, it was interesting how it was sort of raised through the last couple of years and then it would come and then go away. And it wasn't actually, I don't think, part of the political discussion until J.K. Rowling wrote her piece in The Times. And then it sort of came back really to bite Labour's bottom at that last week or so. And it forced them to kind of, I think it did push the conversation. And obviously we owe a huge amount to J.K. Rowling taking these kind of stances. Can you explain what Labour's position is right now regarding the recognition of women's rights?
Yeah, I mean, right now they're a mess. So, you know, you have self-declared gobby feminists like Jess Phillips, who hasn't said a word about the harassment that women have faced, trying to bring up the issue of women's sex-based rights. Obviously, the harassment she faced was absolutely, you know, it was terrible. But at the same time, there's some hypocrisy with her not recognising that that's what women have been facing for a long time now. When it comes to their manifesto pledges, they've pledged both to reform the Gender Recognition Act and also to protect women's sex-based spaces. Now, those things are, they're mutually exclusive. You can't do it. You either believe that somebody can magically change sex by saying the word, I identify as, or you don't. You believe in reality. And there's no nice middle path. And I think the fact that they haven't announced a Minister for Women and Equalities is a reflection of that essentially poison chalice that role is. On the last weekend, though, Keir Starmer did quite emphatically say that he would. Well, he didn't promise that he would change the Equality Act, but he did clearly say that only biological women would be allowed into women's spaces. So that's a big shift from where things were, though, right? It's a shift, but at the same time, you've got Angela Rayner in a key position, and obviously she's someone who's very much a trans activist. Yes, he has shifted his position, but in the past he's also said that, you know, 99.9% of women don't have a penis, obviously suggesting that the 0.1% do. He hasn't said a word in defence of Rosie Duffield. He sort of ignored the fact that she was intimidated by trans activists, unable to attend the party conference. She was unable to even attend one of the hustings events defence because of the threat she had from trans activists. So his words are pretty woolly at the moment. They don't mean a lot. And I think he has a lot of rebuilding trust to do if he wants to retain support of women.
I would say top of that list, yes, would be apologising to Rosie Duffield.
Absolutely.
Saying he does, saying that they do clarify in law by rejigging the Equality Act that sex is biological sex. Would that be enough for you, for them to then make the changes they're talking about with self-ID? Surely then that becomes less important.
To be honest, no. I think he'll equivocate on it. I don't think they're going to... I think they hope that it's going to disappear. So they've also said that they're going to implement the CAS review, but that they ban conversion therapy. Now, if they want a fully trans-inclusive, as it were, conversion therapy ban, that means stopping therapists from being able to talk to children who think that they're born in the wrong body. So again, those things are...
The CAS report said it was a social contagion.
Yes, quite. So, you know, these things cannot... That's a circle that cannot be squared. So I think, well, we will find out whether he's more concerned about 51% of the population or the 0.3% who identify as trans, and indeed their very vocal trans activist lobby. And I suspect he will try and put it on the back burner.
Yeah, well, we'll see if we'll see if someone like J.K. Rowling and other people bring that up. Enough about Labour. We know the Tories eventually came around on this issue. Obviously, Kemi Badenoch being a real stalwart for that cause, fighting against gender ideology. The other political parties, not so much. I know we're years away from an election, but do you think that there might be an alternative that might come through by the next election? I know we had Kelly J. Keane. She had 16 candidates, I think, for the women's
which I think is quite incredible. I mean, to field 16 candidates...
Party of Women.
Yes, Party of Women, yeah. As a grassroots organisation, to field that many candidates that quickly on a single issue shows that it matters and that, you know, people do care about this issue. And I think, you know, when you ask people if they care about trans issues, there was a poll shortly before the election, and it actually showed that not that many people did. Now, if you were to consider... if you were to ask them if they cared about their mums getting single-sex care, if you were to ask them about whether they thought rapists should be in women's prisons or men should be on podiums in women's sports, I think the answer would be very different. So this is an issue that affects all of us because, obviously, our biology affects all of us. And that's why it matters so much. And it isn't a trans issue, it's actually just a sort of reality issue.
Absolutely. I mean, we did have, of course, the Women's Equality Party, which I voted for years ago before all of this stuff started. And they've obviously been a big letdown when it comes to protecting women's rights.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they had a chance to be relevant. They had a chance, a bit like the Fawcett Society had a chance to be relevant, and they blew it. And I think they're largely, I mean, you know, I'm quite involved with the feminist movement, and they're a laughingstock. I don't think anybody takes them seriously. They're a sort of, yes, a bunch of sort of... well, careerists, really.
Well, look, Labour are in now. They've got, obviously, this huge majority. What do you think is the future? Do you think now that we are going to have some actual stability on this issue? Is it going to move forward? What can people do to help move this forward?
I think we've got, you know, a lot of women have been really galvanised into action over this issue who weren't previously particularly engaged.
OK. Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you very much, Joe Bartush. We'll see you guys in the next hour.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, very good evening to you. This is your latest GB News weather forecast provided by the Met Office. If you did get caught out in the shower earlier on today, I hope you've managed to dry off. Things are now settling down as we head throughout the rest of this evening and overnight. It's actually largely dry for many of us, clear skies across a good chunk of the UK. A few mist and fog patches possible, but really underneath those starry skies, temperatures will be plummeting down a touch. 9-11 degrees Celsius for most of our towns and cities, but rural spots may be as low as 3 to 5 degrees Celsius, which is quite chilly for the start of July. But it does mean that to start off the new working week, there will be a decent amount of sunshine for many of us. A touch cloudy for the far north of Scotland, though, particularly for the Outer Hebrides up towards the Northern Isles. A bit of cloud and patchy rain and drizzle around. But for inland areas of Scotland, Northern Ireland and Northern England, quite a decent start off to Monday. We will see some showers developing later on in the morning and towards the afternoon, though. Further south, though, our attention is on this band of rain that's slowly pushing its way in from the southwest, providing light rain and drizzle for southwest England and eventually southwest Wales, central areas during the day and the afternoon. But it is going to turn increasingly cloudy, gloomy underneath all of that. Some quite brisk winds developing as well around the southwest peninsula, 30 to 35 mile-an-hour gusts. Feeling quite chilly and cool underneath that persistent cloud. Temperatures not rising much higher than 15 to 17 degrees Celsius. But further north, where you do have that sunshine, 19, 21 degrees Celsius. So feeling a touch more summery. But make the most of it, because that area of low pressure is going to start moving its way northwards. So it will turn more widely unsettled on Tuesday and Wednesday as we see this band of rain steadily pushing its way northwards. Some heavy pulses in there, maybe even some rumbles of thunder developing around at times, and actually feeling a lot more humid as well as we start feeding in some air from southern districts. It's the far north of Scotland that will stay the driest on Tuesday, but for all of us it should hopefully turn a bit drier from Thursday onwards. Bye-bye.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Summer could be a scorcher, with your chance to win £30,000 cash, our biggest cash prize to date. It's totally tax-free, which means you get to spend every single penny however you like. What plans would you make with an extra £30,000 cash in your bank account? Take your family on the ultimate holiday, buy that treat that's always seemed out of reach, or just put it in the bank for a later date. However you'd spend it, make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2, or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
How deep is the rift between Prince William and Prince Harry? Well, it's been reported that Prince William is refusing to speak to Prince Harry and has even taken on the role of disciplinarian, which was once, of course, the job of Prince Philip. But has that job gone now to William? And does he indeed rule with a rod of iron? Well, joining me now to discuss this is the former BBC Royal correspondent Michael Cole. Himself has a lot of iron. Do you think this is a fair approximation of the character? After all, Michael Cole, surely the palace could do with a firm leader at the moment. Is Wills the man?
I think he is, Martin, and good afternoon to you. William, 42 last Friday. He's grown into the role of heir apparent. He looks good, he sounds good. Now, when the late Queen was alive, she was the chairman of the board, but the chief executive was definitely Prince Philip. She was the head of state, but he was the head of the family. He chaired the Way Ahead Committee, he liaised with the security services, and he laid down the law for a long, long time. Of course, Duchess of York, Sarah, Fergie, was banished, and he also used to go through the invitation lists for any royal event, striking off people he didn't want there. So he was very much in charge. And I think the situation with William is that when he makes up his mind is made up. And he's doing extraordinarily well. And he's doing it without the daily support in public of his wife, of course. And we all wish Kate, the Princess of Wales, well and a speedy continued recovery. And I think the King will be welcoming his older son taking this more prominent role because, quite frankly, he can't do everything.
GB News, the People's Channel.
There's plenty more still to come on Free Speech Nation this week, including a debate on Team GB's women's rugby stars and more questions from our wonderful studio audiences. But let's get a news update first from Tatiana Sanchez.
Josh, thank you and good evening. The top stories. The Prime Minister has told the Palestinian President that recognising the state of Palestine as part of a Middle East peace process is an undeniable right. Sir Keir Starmer spoke to Mahmoud Abbas earlier today. He also spoke to his Israeli counterpart, Benjamin Netanyahu, setting out the clear and urgent need for a ceasefire. Labour's election manifesto committed the party to recognising a Palestinian state as part of a process that results in a two-state solution. The Prime Minister has begun a UK tour as he tries to reset the relationship between Westminster and the devolved nations. Mr Swinney welcomed Sir Keir to Bute House for one of his first engagements after being appointed as Prime Minister. Sir Keir used talks with Mr Swinney to set the framework within which we can work better for Scotland. When asked about Scottish independence, Sir Keir refused to go into detail but said they'll work together.
A joint view that we can work constructively together. I'm absolutely clear that during the campaign I made a commitment that my Labour government would deliver for Scotland. That's why I'm back here, making good on that commitment, that promise, and starting the work of change across Scotland, and took this opportunity to reset relations with the First Minister and Deputy First Minister, and we will take forward further steps to ensure that that is bedded in now.
The Home Secretary has set out the first steps towards setting up a UK border security command, which the government hopes will reduce small boat crossings in the English Channel. Work to recruit an exceptional leader to head the body will begin tomorrow, with the government preparing a bill to create counter-terror powers aimed at tackling organised immigration crime. The Home Office says the command leaders expected to be appointed within the next few weeks and would draw together work of intelligence agencies, police, immigration enforcement and border force. Yvette Cooper says a major upgrade in law enforcement is needed to stop the boats.
No one should be making these dangerous boat crossings. This is undermining our border security as well as having lives being put at risk. But that's why we have to have a major upgrade in law enforcement, and I have immediately started the work on that in the Home Office. That includes the recruitment of a new border security commander, the establishment of a new border security command, and also the recruitment of new cross-border police, including to work right across Europe to tackle this problem at source.
The UK's new Defence Secretary has pledged to step up the UK's support for Ukraine on a visit to Odessa. Following a meeting with President Zelensky and his defensive counterpart, Mr Healey announced the UK would provide a new package of support, including more artillery guns, 250,000 ammunition rounds and nearly 100 precision Brimstone missiles. The Defence Secretary also pledged to fast-track military support committed for Ukraine in April to arrive within the next 100 days. And some breaking sports news. Emma Raducanu is out of Wimbledon after losing in 3 sets, 6-2, 5-7, 6-2 to qualifier Lulu Sun in the 4th round. Raducanu was the last remaining British player in either singles draw at the All England Club, and she was looking for a spot in the quarter-finals for the very first time. And those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Tatiana Sanchez. More in an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation. Let's get some more questions from our wonderful studio audience. Now, our first question is from Carol. It is not from Carol.
Michael.
It's Michael. That sounds like Carol. No, you look like a Carol to me. I'm calling you Carol. Sorry, Michael.
Has Glastonbury always been woke?
Oh, OK, this is the problem. I'm still on drugs from Glastonbury, and that's why I said Carol. Yes, so... yeah, so this
Can
was...
I have some?
You sold them to me, mate.
Yeah.
So, yes, this is from Noel
Gallagher.
Noel Gallagher, yes. He was saying how Glastonbury is now woke, and he also said something about how musicians should stop spouting political nonsense and just get on with playing their instruments and effing off afterwards. What do you think, Carol Michael?
Well, I don't like tents or sleeping with mud, so
okay.
I've not been for a long time.
Oh, fair, but you used to go back in the day?
Long, about 20 years ago, yeah.
OK, when the hair was... Yeah, I know, I feel your pain.
Follically challenged.
That's what we like to call ourselves. Yes, so, Bruce, what do you think now? Musicians, in terms of, you know, should they just shut up and play their instruments?
I think they should just shut up.
Yeah, so don't even play.
Don't even play.
Just stand there.
A lot of it's nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a big musical fan?
Yeah.
Well, you know that Jonathan Cogan here is in a successful band, believe it or not. He's not just a comedian.
Yeah, I'm in the Mamas and the Papas, everybody. Nice to see you. That's niche. That's deep, Paul. What do I think about this? I think if it's part of your act that you want to express yourself on stage and, you know, say your political views, I think you should absolutely be allowed to. But I also think by this point it's quite a hacky, pro-establishment thing to do.
Wait, who said what?
I think this is a reflection on the massive sort of anti-monarchy, anti-capitalist, pro-Palestine, etc., performances at Glastonbury.
So not Dua Lipa?
Not Dua Lipa.
No.
No, what does she stand for?
Herself. That's why I like her.
Money.
The American dream.
I mean, there is an argument here that, I mean, this goes back to the Oasis Blur. There could be that element, the division going on there, because, of course, Damon Albarn sort of famously called that. So there could be a little nod of criticism.
I mean, I think Noel Gallagher's the funniest guy in English music at the moment. Well, in the last 20 years.
OK, yeah. No, I agree. And, but, yeah, I mean, Damon Albarn, I don't know if you saw that, but he called, he said, oh, Palestine, it's not, what's happening in Gaza, it's not a fair war.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was fair on October 8th to, you know, when it was instigated against Israelis and the over 1,000 people who were murdered, slaughtered and raped. But anyway, yeah, it's very frustrating. And of course. Yeah, absolutely, just play your music. So we have another question. We're not going to Carol or Michael this time. We've got John. Where's John? You're not John, I know, but I was just looking at you because I was admiring your shirt, OK? Take the compliment. Sorry, hey, John.
Good evening. Can England win the Euros?
So, yes, can England win the Euros? What do you think, John?
I think it might be the case of the old cliché. They're a great team on paper, but unfortunately, football's played in grass, so I don't think so.
I didn't hear that properly. It was something about John. He likes to smoke grass.
Yeah. Something about rolling paper.
Yeah, John and Michael just hanging out 20 years ago. We know what you've been up to, guys. You crazy dudes. So, yeah, are you into football?
No, I read books. But, yeah, I know, I'm that guy. No, what do I think? I watched a bit of it. Look, at least men have something, right? They can watch the football and enjoy that. They've got a little something to, you know, get behind. Yeah. Do I think England can win? Yeah. Or do I think that's likely? Probably not. Do I care?
I don't. I mean, look, the argument is, Bruce, that it would be good for the nation, possibly, maybe not. No, I don't know. I mean, obviously, there's Scottish people who...
Please don't lump me on the spot.
I know. Sorry.
We're all tired.
I know, fine. But the point is, this could be a good thing. And look, it brings people joy.
It could be a good thing, and people like it, and I hope they do. I hope it's coming home, because if I hear that once more, I will scream. I just want it to come home. I want it to open the door, go in, and lie down.
That's it.
Relax. You're in the house.
Football and Kathy, please come home.
Yes.
These are the two things. Right, the next question is... I hope, from Carol.
Who's left?
Got it right.
Yes. Guys, we tried to skip those two questions. How did you not clock?
Good evening. A very important question. Are men with beards more likely to settle down?
Yes, so men with beards. Let's talk about that. Now, this is researchers in Poland. They have conducted a study into men with different types of facial hair, and they found that men with beards are more likely to want a secure, long-term relationship with a permanent partner. So, Carol, you have a beard. Are you in a relationship?
I am.
OK.
Yes.
Do you think they feel secure?
They feel secure, but I can tell you the men I was dating, they were with beards, and they were not more likely to settle down.
OK, this is interesting. I'm wondering if this study doesn't include homosexuals.
A good question.
Not that gay men don't settle down, but I just imagine there'd be statistically more beards. It would just, you know... I mean, unless they include women in the north. Joke! That's where our fan base is. But, yes, I mean, you have a beard as well. I mean...
So do you?
Yeah, I have a beard.
How is she?
I'm very committed. Well, interestingly, my wife actually likes the beard. She likes the baldness because she thinks that no one's going to be attracted to me.
It's just the personality. She's not keen on.
No, she's not keen on that either. But
Josh, you told me back in the 70s when you had a big moustache, you had a T-shirt saying "Free Moustache Rides," and I only just got what that meant. So yeah.
Oh yeah, let's not bring our childhood into it. Now, obviously, Jonathan, you don't have a beard.
No.
You are also.
That's a puberty blocker.
You are not engaged, I believe.
That's correct.
So. Yeah, there we cover. And your girlfriend is watching this evening, right? Is there a question you would like to ask her?
She doesn't understand the news, but that's okay.
Yeah.
No,
that's probably why you're single.
Yeah, well, look, I'm not slinging D anymore. Those days are behind me. That's
what. Do you think that there might be any particular reason why a beard would suggest a desire for a relationship?
Maybe it's like you're not so much, you're not giving up on yourself, but you're kind of letting it grow out, and you're like, I'm less concerned about looking my best, and you're not looking for a mate at that point.
Wow! Wow!
Oh my God!
Wow!
I feel seen.
Yeah, I just can't grow one. I'm bitter.
Okay, well, our next question's from Jonathan.
Yes.
Hey, Jonathan. Hey, mate.
Hi.
My question: are reboots and sequels destroying cinema?
Yes, are reboots and sequels destroying cinema? The Beverly Hills Cop franchise has returned with the latest instalment, Axel F, premiering to strong reviews on Netflix. Now, it comes also as Cineworld are reportedly considering closing as many as 25 cinemas across the country, a quarter of their total sites. So, Jonathan, what do you think about this?
I think there's a general problem with originality in the arts. I wouldn't just have cinema in there. I'd say music and TV and there's a lot going on there.
Okay, yeah. So, there's Jonathan say because Mike's got... But, there's a general problem in the arts. Would you agree with this? I mean, when was the last time you went to cinema? Do you go often?
I never go. I hate it.
Okay.
I see it as voluntary incarceration. And the funny thing with me is I only like films that I've seen before, which I know throws up another question. What I don't understand is why we aren't encouraging writers to come out with something new. For example, there's going to be a version of Death Becomes Her, which starred Goldie Hawn and Meryl Streep, and it's going to have Kate Hudson and Anne Hathaway in it. And you're
I'm out.
Why?
Yeah, no.
Like, why are we going back to that?
But it's not even like that's like a classic... It's an OK movie for the era, but it's not
classic gay movie. We'll move on. You're
Oh, is it? Okay, I didn't know it was a classic gay movie.
No, but genuinely. But also as well, you mentioned it earlier, 9 to 5. They're bringing out 9 to 5 again with Jennifer Lopez. She can't make a marriage work. Yeah. Why is she going to make a film work?
But is it... So is it... But is that to appeal to Gen... Is that to appeal more to Gen Z, so it's going to be sort of 11 to 11:15?
I don't care. It's like, why is there seems to be such an embargo against anything new and original? When was the last time we had something like The League of Gentlemen?
Yeah, well... Yeah, no, what...
Yeah,
I mean, there are good comedies. I mean, that was particularly original. Yeah. But, yeah, there seems to be a problem with risk. But when it comes to movies, and obviously you're writing a movie, I've written a film, it's very much, money is what controls it. Obviously, they see the success of sequels, they see the success of superhero movies, and I like those. I like those things. But at the same time, that seems to be where cinema's been pushed for the last decade or so.
Well, I think it's a double-edged sword because you do absolutely get, they call it superhero fatigue, where people have grown sick of the ongoing superhero films. But at the same time, when they were building up to that, third Avengers movie, that was a massive cinematic event that everyone was excited about because it had all these sequels following on from each other that led to this kind of great shared tapestry that we could all be excited to see how it concluded. But then after that point, it just felt like more of the same but slightly worse. So.
Well, I mean, there are two arguments for... Absolutely. I mean, and I thought that those are great movies, both in the Avengers Endgame and Infinity War. But I also wonder if that also coincided with the increase of... when they started not appealing to the fans, and actually they just kind of wanted to bring in ideological elements to the story. And that might be another part of why people are not going to the cinema as much. They are voting with their wallets, the whole saying, go woke, go broke, and people don't want to pay to be indoctrinated.
You have Top Gun, which wasn't woke at all, but it was also a sequel, but it just absolutely smashed the box office. So I think they want a bit of what they like without what they don't like. That's not very insightful. We'll be back after the break.
You know what? The thing is that your answer, Jonathan, was so boring it would get people back into the cinema. Our next question is from Rosemary.
Hello.
Hey.
Are video games leading to the death of love?
OK, yes. So are video games leading to the death of love and interaction. This is from Lewis Schaefer's girlfriend. And statistics show that the 88%, wow, of those aged 16 to 24 in the UK play video games, with further analysis finding that around 5% of the gamers aged 13 to 64 game for 20 or more hours per week. And it comes as a sharp rise in those being addicted to gaming has been reported, with the NHS now having the capacity to treat 3,000 individuals a year in 15 centres across the country. The World Health Organization defined gaming addiction as when the activity is having marked impairment on personal, family, social, educational, occupational or other important areas of functioning. Now, you look like a real gamer.
Jax.
Yeah, exactly. What's your game of choice? Do you play video games?
No.
What about family members?
Some of my sons have been video gamers, and I think...
They still live at home, right?
I think they still play, but I think it's probably led to the death of reading and game playing and all those other activities. And it's quite a... I don't know if it's a very positive activity, but I don't think it's led to the death of love. I think there seems to be plenty of love around.
Oh, someone's got a healthy marriage. Rub it off, face in it, eh?
That's how they keep it. No.
So, yeah, look, you're a gamer. You make music for games.
Yeah, well, I've worked with companies like Namco Bandai and stuff, writing music for some of their video games. I was a really, obsessed gamer up to the age of about 15, and then so I got into music and other stuff. But I think the problem with video games is...
And you're not a virgin, right?
I have... Well, look, we can talk about that afterwards, but...
But, yeah, so, I mean... no, in all seriousness, this is something that is raised every so often, but I read this book that, everything bad is actually good for you, and it argues that video games increase synapses, increase motor control. There are positives to it.
It depends on the game, because they can be super addictive because they just hit your reward system over and over and over again, especially somewhere like the free-to-play phone games where you then have to pay a little bit more. But I think the problem is video games can be an achievement simulator, so you feel like you're actually getting stuff done and you're progressing in the game, and you get the dopamine, which you would otherwise be getting normally in your life from actually going out into the world and achieving something.
No, but I don't think you've ever been in a relationship because you just don't get that dopamine. Not at all. So, do you play games, Bruce?
No. Psychological ones.
Oh, yes.
I always come out on top.
Let's move on to our final question from Anton. We're back to Anton. Hey, mate.
Is AI a good force of nature?
Is AI a force for good in the arts? Now, Sir Laurence Olivier, Judy Garland and James Dean will all have their voices brought back to life by an AI platform to narrate audiobooks. The late actors' voices will be used in new AI-powered app called 11 Labs, where users will be able to choose their voice in a special feature called Iconic Voices. The Garland estate said it was exciting to see Judy Garland's voice available to millions, adding that they believe this will bring new fans for the star. Bruce, surely this is more that the estate is happy.
I'm not getting a Judy Garland question.
You're right, that is incredibly homophobic of me.
Thank you.
No, but, I mean, surely the estate is just happy that they're going to be making lots of money from this.
Yeah, of course. But then I suppose there is a thing, if recordings and all that kind of stuff don't last the test of time, to have those to, these are all significant cultural icons. It's funny, we went to see Madonna last year at the O2, and I don't know if that was her or that was AI, but she sounded phenomenal. Maybe she'd just gone to bed and done some vocal exercises, I don't know. But if it is the case and it preserves that kind of thing, I don't see there is a problem with it. But I would like to point out Madonna is still alive, as far as I'm aware.
I've seen her face.
But, Jonathan, I'm sure there is an impact on the arts because voice actors will be losing work now.
Certainly. I've played around with 11 Labs. I actually cloned Cressida for The Office a couple of weeks ago, and you can just... If you put in, 30 seconds of someone talking, you can then generate a voice. It's an unbelievable tool. I did hear one of these celebrity readings. It was Mel Gibson reading from Mein Kampf. It sounded super realistic, and I mean, it was recorded 7 years ago. But yeah, it's an interesting.
Very good. I don't think anybody gets that reference there. But
people
I thought
it was dying.
Very, very good. Right. Next on Free Speech Nation, we're going to be debating a controversial new campaign from Team GB's female rugby players, which aims to inspire young girls to play sports. Don't go anywhere.
If you want your news to be straight talking, this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them. They catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Pearce. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Bev Turner. Thank you for joining us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain's newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
So the royal family is opening the doors of Balmoral Castle to the public and giving guided tours today for the first time in more than 170 years.
And one man who spent plenty of time there is former Royal Butler Grant Harold, who joins us now. Grant, we know the Queen loved Balmoral, and that's, of course, where she was in her final days. Why was it so special?
I think for many reasons, but most importantly, it was a family home, and it's where she spent a lot of time with her family. I mean, we all know the Queen, obviously monarchy was the first thing, but she always said that family was right behind that. And so time with family was important, whether it be at Sandringham or Balmoral, which were both properties that she privately owned. So they're private homes and very special.
Which kind of makes it even more surprising that King Charles has decided to open the doors to the public.
I was surprised when it was announced, because for many years, I've always said that Balmoral's one of the most private homes. You know, they've always been quite fierce about keeping a private home, private estate. You can visit the gardens at certain times of the year. You can see the ballroom as well. But to actually go in the rooms is really a big step for them. And I think it just shows you that the kind of future of the monarchy with properties is opening the doors and letting the public in to see them.
Yeah. Now, you had a very special occasion in that ballroom, because you saw a film in there, but I'm actually interested by who you danced with in that ballroom.
In the film that I watched, the documentary, it was the Queen dancing, and I remember thinking I would love to dance with the Queen. And about 12 years later, I was in that ballroom and got to dance with her in that room. So
that's fabulous.
Was
she in her full tartan regalia?
She was in a beautiful dress. She had a blue dress on, which similar to what she wore in the documentary that I saw. And they actually replicated the scene in The Crown. Right. I was very disappointed to see that Brad Pitt wasn't playing my sadly.
How unfair.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Emily Carver. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Tom Harwood. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation. With the Olympics just around the corner, attention is now turning to our athletes as they gear up for a summer of sport. Team GB's women's rugby team, though, have already been forced into the spotlight following a new campaign involving lingerie. Players ditched their usual rugby kits in favour of underwear to take part in Blue Bella's Strong is Beautiful campaign, an initiative aiming to encourage young girls to play sports. But the move has been criticised heavily on social media, with many saying that the male gaze has been placed front and centre. With me now to debate this in the studio is broadcaster and TV personality Precious Muir and the Director of Campaigns at Sex Matters, Fiona McKenna. Precious, do you think this is empowering?
I do. I think it's a wonderful thing. I mean, women are constantly being ridiculed in society, and we need to be uplifting them. And them embracing a campaign like this as athletes is inspiring young girls to want to participate in sport. Because being nude isn't a scary thing. Like, we shouldn't be scared to have women in lingerie, because we're constantly seeing footballers taking their shirts off, walking around and doing campaigns for boxer briefs and shorts all the time. I mean, if you watch a football game, how many times do you see a footballer take his shirt off and run around celebrating his score? I mean, it's not a big deal to me. I think it's a very good thing for women to do.
Fair enough. Now, Fiona, do you think that context is important here? Why do you think this is sexist?
Well, I think there's nothing empowering about stripping off for other people. It's a free choice. They're free to do it. The problem we've got here is that the advertiser, the brand, has said that this is about attracting girls into sport. What we know is that the reason lots of girls drop out of sport is because they feel self-conscious, they feel they don't want to be looked at, they're worried about how they're going to look. And I'm sure this campaign started with good intentions, but they've fallen into the trap of just reinforcing the same old, which is to say to girls, what is important is how you look. And then they're trying to say, and you'll still look good if you play rugby. But it would be so much more empowering and it would be more successful in getting girls into sport if they would say, come and play rugby because you will feel great, you will have teamwork, you have these women in that ad campaign, they have skills, they have resilience, they have fitness,
so
but they're just being celebrated for nakedness.
So a woman should not be able to take, I take very good, in my appearance, for me, to look good is important. And for me to inspire other women to do that, it's a good thing, it's a positive thing. I don't think you having a talent takes away from wearing lingerie. Wearing lingerie is like everybody in this room. I'm assuming everyone's wearing lingerie today.
I am.
So, you know, everybody wears it. At the end of the day, it's just inspiring others to do nice things. I mean, these women, if they were heavier, they'll be ridiculed. If they were slimmer, women just can't catch a break. We're constantly being criticised.
Yeah, absolutely right, Precious.
We need to be supporting these women because they're brave enough to go out there and do a campaign like this, and nobody else would. I mean, at the end of the day, they have stripped down into these wonderful, sexy lingerie items. I don't see a problem with it. They look great. I mean...
So the problem is that this brand is claiming that this is some kind of higher social purpose, that it's going to get girls into sport. If they were just advertising lingerie, that's up to them, and it's up to you how you dress and how much you wear or how little. The problem we've got here is that they're telling girls that in order to do sport, they have to worry about how they look. And that's the problem. That's the problem we already have. One of the women in this campaign said that before she played rugby, she had an eating disorder and she had body image issues. Now, the solution to body image issues is not to tell girls that they need to look good in lingerie.
So
the solution is to let them play sport.
Would you say this to a male football player who is doing a lingerie ad for a very well-known...
Have you ever seen a male football player training in his underwear?
I've seen him
that's how these women,
and he's got
that's how these women were photographed.
He's got his abs out and he's doing
and that's fine.
And everyone's going, wow, look at that guy.
And you and I both know...
said, how dare he have his top off, and
you and I both know
show those abs, you know?
You and I both know that he is free to do that because the rest of the time he is celebrated for his achievements. And how often do we see Team GB women in sport being celebrated for their achievements? It's such a shame that this campaign has got them out there in their lingerie, just like all the other women in lingerie ads. And it's not doing anything for girls. It's the same old sexist stuff saying how you look is what matters. And I think it's a shame for girls. It will not encourage them back into sport.
We do bring awareness to women and encourage them to have a body positive outlook. Being naked doesn't mean that you're having a negative connotation on what you look like. It's just saying be body positive.
It's saying show off your body. Why can't they do that in their rugby kit? If they're really being celebrated, for sport, but they say it's about getting women into sport, and that's the problem.
It seems like the problem here is that this is really just they're trying to sell a product, lingerie, and they're doing it on the back of this. Oh, let's get young girls, encourage them into sport. Now, if it didn't have that element, you're saying that you wouldn't have a problem with it. If it was just an advert and they used these rugby women to show different body types and that they are beautiful, then that's OK. Do you think would that make a difference to you at all? If the campaign, the more moral campaign of helping young women encourage...
I think the message is very clear. It is doing that because young women don't have a very positive body. They just look at themselves and they're constantly ridiculed about what's going on because of society and the way people treat women. We uplift everybody else. We don't uplift women. And this is a campaign showing women of all shapes and sizes and colours, and they're embracing their bodies in lingerie. I don't see anything negative in this campaign.
So I agree with most of what you say, Precious, but why can't we uplift women with their clothes on? Wouldn't that be a welcome change?
We can do both. Skin is not the devil. Like, we can wear...
But we're objectifying these girls. The whole problem is girls are objectified.
Because the campaign, footballers, Premiership League, they go out and do this stuff all the time for big brands, and nobody says a word to them. They're embracing them and they think it's amazing. They're on covers and everything. When a woman does it, it's criticised. It's not right.
And that's because of the inherent sexism, that the starting point for this ad campaign is to say you have to look good. That's the problem. They should be saying you have to have skill, you can be fit, you can be part of a team.
And they wouldn't sell lingerie.
But you see, if they weren't pretending to be doing some kind of social good, it wouldn't be a problem. It would just be any other lingerie ad. It's disingenuous to say to girls, this is how you can look if you do sport, and they're reinforcing the issues around body image, which are the very reason girls are dropping out of sport in the first place.
Yeah, so it's an interesting one. I mean, Precious, do you think this has distracted the conversation with, you know, GB's hopes at the Olympics?
No, I think it's creating a conversation and for people to actually have a discussion and for GB to actually be seen in the Olympics, and it's bringing awareness in also. I think it's a positive thing. The press is talking about it, and that's always good. So, yeah.
Well, I remember the volleyball team, women's beach volleyball team, that got fined for wearing clothing that was too skimpy, and the men were wearing much more substantial clothing. So if that's not objectification, I don't know what is, and that is not how women in sport want to be seen.
Well, this is the word, objectification, and I guess then it comes down to who is lingerie for. The argument might be that lingerie is for women to feel empowered and good about their bodies, positive about their bodies. The other argument would be it's for the male gaze.
Yeah, but also they're not wearing the lingerie
Not
at
the male gaze. Pointing to the gay corner.
I just want to be very clear. They're not wearing the lingerie at the games. This is a campaign.
Oh, I'm not going to watch it.
This is a campaign. Let's just make sure that we're all clear on that. I mean, they might wear it underneath their kit, but, you know, they're not wearing it at the games. It's a campaign to bring awareness. It encourages young girls to have body positivity. I think it's a really good idea to do it because, you know, athletes are always complaining as females they're not getting these campaigns, and now they have. So what are we doing here? Well, you know, they can't win.
Like, it feels like there's mixed messages in terms of we're talking about also the sexualisation of young girls.
But that's how you perceive lingerie. I don't think it's a sexual thing. It depends on how you wear it and where you're wearing it. When I looked at the campaign, I didn't see sex. I just saw very happy women in really nice lingerie. I didn't see... It wasn't a sexual... They weren't on a bed or they weren't, with, you know, having a glass of wine. They were on the pitch.
Yeah, so, but then it comes down to the opposite of context.
It's how you perceive it.
I think having semi-naked sportswomen on the pitch when they would never set foot on that pitch dressed like that is pretty sexist, and it's pretty much saying to them, looking feminine, looking beautiful is your goal, even when you're a Team GB rugby player. And I think that's a really negative message. What they should be saying is, enjoy sport, don't worry about how you look. Fine, wear your lingerie.
And the fact that they're women and they're happy.
But women don't have to wear lingerie.
But we're losing the fact that we're not encouraging women to be women and to be proud.
But we're losing the fact.
And so that's what it is.
I can say that we've definitely come to an understanding. Now, if you're interested in seeing me playing rugby in lingerie, please follow me on Twitter. But in the meantime, thank you so much to my guests, Precious and Fiona. Next on Free Speech Nation, we'll cross live to Washington, D.C. to get the latest on the presidential race. See you shortly.
GB News is Britain's election channel.
And when the big stories break, we're tackling them on Britain's newsroom. When we disagree, and we disagree a lot, it's even livelier than normal.
We don't disagree that much.
We do. His comedy, though, is revolting. I knew her, and unlike you. That explains Beverly Turner's temperament.
It's a bit frothy in here, isn't it?
He'll have one of me one day.
Yeah, for dartball practice. Britain's newsroom on GB News. Weekdays, 9:30 a.m.
GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled.
Lovely. Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Isabel Webster. Thanks for joining us on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Stephen Dixon, and thanks for joining us on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation. Now, we might have had a busy week of politics here at home, but across the pond, things have been just as tumultuous. President Biden's position as the Democratic candidate in the upcoming presidential race is increasingly uncertain. The New York Post reported yesterday that a leading neurologist visited the White House to meet with Biden's doctor after a series of public mishaps during his campaign. Meanwhile, Donald Trump took to his social media platform, Truth Social, to sarcastically encourage Biden to continue to be sharp, precise and energetic, just like he was in the debate. With me now is the White House correspondent for Real Political News, John Christopher Bua. Hello, welcome. What is the latest on President Biden's condition?
Well, I thought I was going to talk about Trump in a negligee or a lovely little black lace.
We're saving that for the end. We've had our AI work on the images.
What is the latest? The latest is we are in a very, very tense moment in our political cycle here. Joe Biden had a dreadful debate. He knows that. We were all rather dissatisfied by that, those who liked him or didn't. And then he went out and he started to prove that he could, in fact, speak to crowds. He did a nice interview with ABC's George Stephanopoulos, who I've known since the Clinton campaign. It was a good piece. He seemed powerful and strong. He did an event today. He did another event in Wisconsin, and then he did a church, an African-American church earlier today. And he's looking powerful. He's looking good. But there's questions. The fact is that he's oldish guy, and he makes sense. People are talking about how much integrity he has and what a wonderful administration he has and what he's going to do next. But there's always the issue of where do we go from here? And people just want to know, Josh, that he's okay and that he can serve out the next 4 years and go against Trump, take care of him, and then be the president of the United States. We've got a big 75th anniversary of NATO this week, and I'm happy to see that your Keir Starmer is heading over. That'll be very nice. And there's an election. You had a very interesting election in the UK, and France is having one as we speak. So we're seeing things in Europe not go so right-wing as we were afraid of. We just hope America keeps that tradition as well.
So it sounds like you don't think that he should drop out of the presidential race then?
Well, look, I've known Joe Biden for over 30 years. He's a decent, honorable man. And I have to say, it's up to him. I can't be second guessing him. There are members of Congress who think he should go. There are senators who will meet with him and talk to him about that. His wife certainly wants him to stay in. And on Monday, the lawmakers here will be returning from their 4th of July weekend, and they're going to be on the Hill, Capitol Hill, and they're going to be discussing this in earnest. So we'll see where the country goes.
Well, could you tell us about some of the other potential Democratic candidates that could take over from Biden then?
Well, I have my fantasy candidates. I think Hillary Clinton and Michelle Obama should run. But I know you're a comedian, so I thought you'd get a kick out of that.
No, I genuinely don't know if you're being serious or not.
I'm not serious. I'm throwing a joke at you.
Sorry, I didn't know Americans did that, but...
oh, yes.
Sorry,
in fact, I think Joe Biden should be in the... And I liked your film sequence as well, and I have one for you. Carry on Joe Biden.
OK, wow. We are keeping the references up to date here.
Why not? Why
no,
not?
Exactly. So there's no particular candidates that are... I mean, isn't that part of the problem? The Democratic Party hasn't actually sort of pushed anyone forward, that there is a replacement there.
Well, here's what it is. He's not going to resign his presidency. He will stay president at least until the inauguration, which is January 20th, 2025. Now, whether he pulls out and lets Kamala Harris step in, we'll see. Now, I just got breaking news that her husband, the second gentleman, just came down with COVID. So we wish him well. We wish the vice president well. But it's going to be a very difficult couple of weeks. The Democrats have their convention in mid-August. And the GOP, the grand old party, Republicans, as you say, have theirs next week. So we shall see what happens. Kamala Harris is not the only one. There are others who are looking to perhaps get involved. Gretchen Whitmer, who's governor of Michigan. We have Gavin Newsom, who's a very powerful, charismatic governor of California, and several others. And it is a little disconcerting. And I think one of the reasons that people are standing behind Joe Biden, which they may want to anyway, is because it's not going to upset the apple cart. We're going to know where the delegates are. We're going to know who's the nominee. We're going to have a convention, and Joe Biden will hopefully, for some, be the nominee, and he will run against our favorite Trump.
Well, we'll see if there's still an apple cart after all of that then. Well, thank you so much to John Christopher.
Exactly.
Thank you for joining us.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Next on Free Speech Nation, Norway's culture minister bears all. An American tourist gets a little confused over Irish geography, and Goodfellas becomes Goodfellows. It's almost time for social sensations. That will make sense.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates.
You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it? Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Do you put jam or cream first on your scone? Divisive.
A new study has found that 44% of Brits put jam on before the cream, which is the right way to eat a scone.
In my opinion, definitely jam first, but I have to say, do you know what? As long as you enjoy it and it's delicious, and you've got nice scone, nice jam, amazing clotted cream, who cares?
Paul, why the jam first?
Because I love that chilled clotted cream that you hit first, then into that room temperature jam, and then that lovely baked scone.
And one of our viewers has written in and said actually she puts the jam on first because otherwise you would get it all over, as in it would wobble off on the top of the cream.
But I think it's easy to dribble the jam onto the cream. You're not spreading the jam onto the cream if you put it on top.
I would do jam first because it just seems to make less mess. So the jam spreads easy and just a dollop of cream on top.
Is there much of a market for the savoury ones that you have?
Yeah. But you know, like when you're frying onions for a hot dog, like fairground onions, fold that through your scone mix, bake your scone, so you've got this lovely kind of like roasted onion scone mix.
Into it.
Braised beef, clotted cream, horseradish and watercress.
Oh, my word.
Absolutely incredible.
Well, you're very adventurous, Paul, very adventurous.
Yes. But think of it, you know, like when you make beef stew and you put those scones, drop scones on top, like a beef cobbler.
Yeah.
It's it's that inspiration.
Well, I would call it like a dumpling.
Paul, do you think very
Perfect.
quickly, do you think these will become a classic?
Yeah, 100%, absolutely. Because I think there's just so much more to clotted cream scones than just the traditional cream tea.
GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking, this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them. Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes. Thank you for joining us on GB News, Britain's news channel.
On Mark Dolan tonight, in My Big Opinion, are Labour already trying to undo Brexit? My Mark Meets guest is former Foreign Secretary Sir Malcolm Rifkind. Where do the Tories go from here? And in my Take at 10, our new Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has scrapped the Rwanda plan. You can hear the champagne corks popping in Calais as we speak. Plus Anne Widdecombe, tomorrow's papers, and my top pundits. We're live at 9.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation. It's time for Social Sensations, the part of the show where we look at what's been going viral this week on social media. First up, Norway, the home of Edvard Grieg, Rikard Nordrak and Johan Svensson. Yes, a country once famous for whatever those guys did, has descended into a decadent state as Norwegian politician flashed her breasts at a Pride Award event. Let's take a look.
Jeg tok ikke på meg glitter, jeg tok ikke på meg paljetter.
OK, that is Norway's culture minister, ladies and gentlemen. And her breasts, strangely, are luminescent, which you haven't seen. Now, this is...
Northern Lights.
Is there any politician that you want to see go topless, Bruce?
No.
No. It's always...
no, get the babs back in the bread bin.
Keep them away, yes.
Keep them moist, keep them, room temperature.
I don't really know what...
Angela Merkel.
What, do you know if she was trying to make a sort of political point here?
I think she was just trying to get involved in the festivities. Maybe she'd had a few too many, whatever they drink over
Norsks.
I heard... Are you sure she just wasn't a rugby player?
She could have been.
This is the campaign.
She has just launched her OnlyFans, though, so if there was ever a time to go check her out, now is the... yeah.
OK, there we go. Right, next up is this video of a tourist in Northern Ireland not quite getting the vibe of the culture. So that is the Orange March. Well, an Orange March. I don't know if it's the one. Not really a jovial event. She's not really getting it. But she's sort of just like, oh, look at these Irish people.
She's probably high.
Really?
Yeah.
OK, fine. You don't think...
that look.
I thought she just looked like she was American and she was just, like, totally oblivious.
No, I think she just hated the Irish. She knew exactly what it was. She was just sort of...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They were getting on it. Yeah,
I think so, yeah.
It was pretty funny. Right, finally, we have a parody of Goodfellas mocking the Tories, which has gone viral.
And you put a red mark or a red colour over every area where there's low pay, deep poverty. Insufficiency of housing, long hospital waiting lists.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a Tory.
Well, I tell you this.
Even before Nanny escorted me to the square mile for an after-school job, I knew I wanted to be part of them. They weren't like everybody else. I mean, they did whatever they wanted.
Look, that's enough reason to go back into the cinema there.
I'll come with you.
I would watch that.
Yeah,
that does look fantastic.
I think that is funny.
Jacob Rees-Mogg was pretty scary.
Yeah. Well, I thought charismatic.
Charismatic, yes.
Handsome.
Yeah, it's very good. So this made... Do you know who made this? Why they made it?
Scorsese, wasn't it?
Scorsese, yes. Yeah. I don't think that he's that bothered by it. But yeah, it's pretty amusing. Do you make this kind of stuff? You like it?
I digged it. I enjoyed it. I could have gone for a longer version.
OK, you think... Yeah, you don't think that...
What would the Labour equivalent be? What film would they do?
9 to 5.
9 to 5?
Yeah.
you are someone who's very much up on it at the moment. What, Keir Starmer quitting work early, is that what you mean?
Yeah, and playing the tune on his nails.
OK, wow, OK, I thought it was... I don't know why 9 to 5 was chosen there. I still don't get it. Right, now we're going to have the part of the show where we talk through your unfiltered dilemmas. Our first dilemma is from Joey. This is it. My granddad has just offered me £20,000 for a deposit on a house. He definitely has early onset dementia, but no one else has clocked on. Do I take the money?
Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yes.
Where's this house?
Yes.
Aberdeen?
We've no idea.
Yeah.
But it's 20 grand, free and clear.
Yeah, you don't think
he
someone
won't
else
remember? It's all good. No one's got POA. Just take the money.
And what do you think? And then, Jonathan, like the week later, you go back and say, you haven't given me that 20 grand yet.
Oh, you keep doing it. You run up a tab. What if he wants to move in? What if that's the plan? You
Allow
buy
him.
A house.
He's not going to be allowed much longer.
Fair enough.
Really? You guys are pretty... Are you sure? People can survive for years with this. You guys are harsh. You want to get on the housing ladder.
Not really. It looks like a lot of work. Stuff breaks, you got to fix it. I'm going to rent forever. I'm going to be a rent king.
OK, what
I'm
about...
going to be a rent boy. No, something different.
No! I think that ship has sailed, my love.
Yeah. I'm a yes to
OK, cool. Well, our next dilemma this week is from John. I've just found out that my wife is cheating on me, but I've just been made redundant. Should I just sign on the dole and enjoy the euros until I find another job, then leave her, or keep my dignity and leave her now?
I would leave her now and take up with whoever she was cheating with.
I actually saw that. There was a video online about a couple who'd found out that their respective partners were cheating on them and then booked a table when they knew that they were going to do it. Yeah, I mean, what do you think about this? Do you think...
I think he should do like an extended plan of revenge where he makes her think she's going crazy. So he could like turn the lights down a bit, hide a handbag in the fridge, just over a series of months and years until she finally goes so mad she just extinguishes herself.
Genuinely terrible. I think what Jonathan's saying is, don't ever cheat on him. That might be it. Yeah, this
But I'm not watching.
But the thing is, I mean, this guy might be onto something. Just like enjoy the summer. He doesn't need the stress of breaking up with someone and having to move out. It's just, stay in the relationship, stay in an unhappy relationship. It's fine.
Yeah, so many people do.
Yeah, exactly.
They're all here tonight.
That's it. Apart from Jonathan, who just
put glass in her porridge. All I'm saying is the important thing is they'll get through it together.
Yeah, OK, fine. Well, look, you know what, Jonathan? I don't know if I'm going to ask you any more questions. You're slightly terrifying me. Right, our final moral dilemma is from Millie. My mum wants to buy me and my new husband a house. I hope there's a lot of themes going on here. They feel like they're all related here. But she's refusing to put his name on the contracts because she says she wants her money to be safe in case we divorce. It sounds like she hates my husband. Does she? Yes, of course.
Yeah, she does.
She definitely hates her husband.
And it's her money and she can do what she likes. So if you want her money, get rid of him.
Really? Would you choose a house over love?
Yes.
A house over love?
Everyone would.
But you've got such a big beard, it makes no sense.
Well, that's the thing.
Really? And what about you?
You can't sleep with a house.
Yes,
I've tried.
All right.
It's no good. What do I think?
Okay.
I think the mum should start hiding the guy's stuff, make him think he's going absolutely mental.
Have you just watched a film called Gaslighting?
Yeah.
Just possibly here. It's a strange one. Yeah, I don't know what to suggest. I think stay with love and then just...
Kill them all, let God decide. That's what I think.
OK, thank you so much, Jonathan. Right, well, thank you for joining us this evening for Free Speech Nation. This was the week when the Tories got decimated at the polls. The authorities went after a 12-year-old for stating facts, and Bruce shrunk his suit trousers in the wash. Thank you to my panel, Bruce Devlin and Jonathan Cogan. And to my guests, Harry Miller, Joe Bartosh, Precious Muir, Fiona McKenna, and John Christopher Buer. And if you want to join us live in the studio and be part of our wonderful audience, you can. Please go to www.sroaudiences.com. Stay tuned for the brilliant Mark Dolan tonight. That's next. And don't forget that Headliners is on every night at 11 p.m. That's the late night paper preview show where comedians talk you through the next day's top news stories. Thank you very much for watching Free Speech Nation, and we will hopefully see you next week. Well, we will be here next week, but Andrew, anyway, whatever. See you next week. Thank you for joining us.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, very good evening to you. This is your latest GB News weather forecast provided by the Met Office. If you did get caught out in the shower earlier on today, I hope you've managed to dry off. Things are now settling down as we head throughout the rest of this evening and overnight. It's actually largely dry for many of us, clear skies across a good chunk of the UK. A few mist and fog patches possible, but really underneath those starry skies, temperatures will be plummeting down a touch. 9-11 degrees Celsius for most of our towns and cities, but rural spots may be as low as 3 to 5 degrees Celsius, which is quite chilly for the start of July. But it does mean that to start off the new working week, there will be a decent amount of sunshine for many of us. A touch cloudy for the far north of Scotland, though, particularly for the Outer Hebrides up towards the Northern Isles. A bit of cloud and patchy rain and drizzle around. But for inland areas of Scotland, Northern Ireland and Northern England, quite a decent start off to Monday. We will see some showers developing later on in the morning and towards the afternoon, though. Further south, though, our attention is on this band of rain that's slowly pushing its way in from the southwest, providing light rain and drizzle for southwest England and eventually southwest Wales, central areas during the day and the afternoon. But it is going to turn increasingly cloudy, gloomy underneath all of that. Some quite brisk winds developing as well around the southwest peninsula, 30 to 35 mile-an-hour gusts. Feeling quite chilly and cool underneath that persistent cloud. Temperatures not rising much higher than 15 to 17 degrees Celsius. But further north, where you do have that sunshine, 19, 21 degrees Celsius. So feeling a touch more summery. But make the most of it, because that area of low pressure is going to start moving its way northwards. So it will turn more widely unsettled on Tuesday and Wednesday as we see this band of rain steadily pushing its way northwards. Some heavy pulses in there, maybe even some rumbles of thunder developing around at times, and actually feeling a lot more humid as well as we start feeding in some air from southern districts. It's the far north of Scotland that will stay the driest on Tuesday, but for all of us it should hopefully turn a bit drier from Thursday onwards. Bye-bye.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
£30,000 in cash has to be won. It's our biggest cash prize so far, and it could be yours. Phil was a winner. Listen to what he says about winning the Great British Giveaway.
Hi, my name's Phil Cox. I just looked at my account and thought, oh my God, yeah, it's true, it's gone into my account. And if I can win it, anybody can win it.
The next big winner could be you, with an extra £30,000 cash in your bank. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text CASH to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates.
You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister. Which is it?
Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry. Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes,
She could have saved Storm.
you made my argument for me.
My guests and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere. Something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different. Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's 9 o'clock on television, on radio and online in the United Kingdom and across the world. This is Mark Dolan Tonight. In my big opinion, are Labour already trying to take us back into the EU? I'll be tackling what could be the great Brexit betrayal next. My Mark Meets guest is former Foreign Secretary Sir Malcolm Rifkin. What was it like serving under Margaret Thatcher? And after Thursday's defeat, where do the Tories go from here? In the big story, who should lead the Conservative Party? I'll be asking former Tory MP Sir Philip Davies, who lost his seat on Thursday. And in my Take at 10, after just 24 hours in office, Sir Keir Starmer makes his first major mistake. He has scrapped the Rwanda plan.